Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful Wednesday so far. Today we're going to be delivering an absolutely huge cryptocurrency daily market update. Now, by huge, I don't mean in terms of how long it's going to be. I mean the news that we're going to be delivering is huge, and it has everything to do with the man behind me. That, of course, is Vladimir Putin, looking rather smug in that picture. And it's to do with the fact that the Russian government has came out and said that they are going to recognize Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. It's important to remember that it's not just Bitcoin as currencies. We're going to be getting into a number of articles. We're going to be looking at what's officially being said. We know in January there are reports for an outright ban of crypto. They've now decided to almost do a 180 and instead of ban it, regulate it. And some of the reasons stated for regulating it is that it would just be simply impossible to do an outright ban. So we're going to be getting into a number of articles talking about some of the things associated with it, like the fact that you can only really transfer, or they're going to regulate it so you can only transfer roughly $8,000, around about 600,000 rubles, and you'll have to declare anything over that, otherwise it'll be a criminal offense. Regulatory clarity is a good thing. It can be a bad thing if it's overly regulated. But so far, this is a huge thumbs up for Bitcoin. This brings a whole sort of geopolitical problem to the table, though, that was already there. But the elephant in the room has now gotten even larger. And that's because we know what's taking place between kind of this standoff between the US and Russia at the moment, or UN and the Russia, but we're not really going to talk about that. So what do the US, we've had reports that the Biden administration is going to come out and tackle cryptocurrencies as a matter of national security, now do, knowing that the likes of Russia are almost backing it and giving it their seal of approval. We had some other news that we're going to talk about today. The US officially seized $3.6 billion in Bitcoin from a 2016 Bitfinex hack. I actually heard a lot about this hack later on down the day. But what are the US going to do with this $3.6 billion worth of Bitcoin? Certainly I'm hoping they don't dump it on the open market. That would cause a pretty severe crash, and I don't actually think they will do that. We may start to enter some sort of a race in regards to accumulating crypto here, because and we've often said this, one of the biggest threats to Bitcoin is the US dollar. It's why really Bitcoin came into existence, because these phony fiat systems, Satoshi wanted to move away from them and implement a system of value, or certainly accounting for value, that was detached from government. Lots of Austrian economics and all sorts of theories thrown in there. But essentially, one of the biggest threats to Bitcoin is the US dollar. And the US government, more importantly, and the fact that they are not going to like a competitor in the room. We've seen how they've treated other competitors. Usually it doesn't end very well for them. The US have a huge amount of power over the world, given the fact that they have the world reserve currency, and this is something they're going to have a vested interest in maintaining. Many of you have heard of something called the dollar milkshake theory, which suggests that the dollar gets really strong. We've got a great guest coming on the show for you, by the way, guys, in the coming week to talk about sort of macroeconomics and everything. I don't think the dollar milkshake theory accounts for Bitcoin, because the whole theory behind that theory is the fact that other currencies get weak and they run to the dollar as a store of value. But where does Bitcoin sit in that? So it's a very, very interesting time to be alive. Let's get into the article or some of these articles in regards to Putin. We'll talk about the Russian government coming out and regulating crypto. We'll talk about the price. We'll look at a number of cryptos. Also, tomorrow is the CPI, the official CPI data release. And it's actually set, or certainly people are speculating that inflation is going to come in hotter tomorrow than it was previously. So it was 7% previously. People are expecting it to be around about 7.2, 7.3%, which we've previously also stated. Does this mean the Fed gets a little bit more hawkish and decides that they want to sort of taper faster and maybe implement interest rates at an even greater speed? There's so much going on, guys, and that's why we do these daily updates. So markets are very lackluster. I don't know how they haven't moved on this news. Breaking: Russian government to recognize Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as currency. Russia moves to recognize crypto as a form of currency. Russia drafts legislation will reportedly be drawn up by a no later date than February the 18th and is expected to regulate crypto as legal money. Regulators hope to bring digital currencies the digital currency industry out of the shadows. The establishment of rules for crypto circulation would minimize threat to Russia's financial system. So they're actually, instead of going to ban it, they're saying, look, well, why don't we onboard it, regulate it, tax it? And we've always said that, you know, countries willing to accept crypto are going to benefit far more from accepting it than, you know, doing something like banning it, with potentially the exception of the US, that is the world reserve currency. Because, you know, we played a clip. It was from one of the senators who was extremely against Bitcoin and crypto in general. And he said, look, if we want to impose sanctions on Iran, how can we do that if everyone's using Bitcoin? Because our sanctions become basically meaningless as we're, you know, they're often dollar based. And this is an actual statement. The establishment of rules for the circulation of cryptocurrencies and controlled measures will minimize the threat to the stability of the financial system and reduce the use of cryptocurrencies for illegal purposes, since a complete ban on the segment of operations related to their circulation is impossible. Yes, they could ban crypto, but you couldn't. It's, you know, rules. There's a saying out there that rules are meant to be broken. They're actually, the whole reason for rules is that they're supposed to be followed. But, you know, of course, people do break them, and you could never really ban crypto. There'd be someone somewhere, you know, using it in the same way that making things illegal, like illicit substances, just simply doesn't work. In fact, it's counterintuitive. But that is certainly a subject I'm very passionate about, but it's not something I really talk about on this channel. The Russian government and central banks agree to treat Bitcoin as currency. Now, they don't mention crypto here. Often these articles are written by Bitcoin maxis. Bitcoin maxis, Ethereum maxis, any coin maxi is insecure, in my opinion, because it's not one coin to rule them all. Many cryptocurrencies are going to do very well. Some do things better than others, and so on and so forth. Like Bitcoin is in my opinion, at the moment, the top store of value in terms of cryptocurrencies, whereas you can't use it for things like smart contracts, or, for example, with XRP, it would be very good as remittances, Bitcoin. So cryptocurrency transactions of more than 600,000 rubles, roughly $8,000, will have to be declared. Otherwise, it can be considered a criminal act. And this goes into a number of things. In January, the Bank of Russia called for a nationwide crypto ban in a report warning about the speculative nature of the industry. The bank also stated that financial firms should not facilitate crypto transactions as part of that proposal to ban digital assets. This has been essentially 180'd. Our bank's now going to offer crypto services. We're seeing lots of banks all around the world. Even in the US, we had a report that over 300 small banks were essentially moving to facilitate crypto. Reason being, and we said this to you guys a long time ago, your crypto services are becoming banking services. So you the likes of Coinbase and Binance and so on and so forth, and your banks are now going to be starting to offer crypto services. That's still yet to happen. In terms of adoption, ladies and gentlemen, where we are in comparison with where we're going, you know, we're nowhere near adoption yet, guys. In fact, we've not even really started it. It's all still to come, and there's a lot of value that gets caught up in that. This is all taking place when Bitcoin's at a very crucial level. We are holding that sort of 62k range. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we do come back and retest it. That would be more than healthy, and then see continuation. But with the CPI coming out, with the likes of Russia, and what they're doing, you know, it's going to be a huge month for crypto, ladies and gentlemen. All we need now is the US to come out and say a similar thing. Yes, we're going to regulate it, we're going to tax it, you know, and we're going to allow it, basically. And then you're going to get Wall Street jumping in and pushing it and so on and so forth. You could be, you know, absolutely off to the races here. But there's lots of ifs and buts associated with this. Where Bitcoin is right now, you know, you can see it has often been an element or an area of consolidation. You can see it's acted as resistance a number of times, this sort of 62k range. So we could come back, test it. If we hold it as support, it's beautiful, we're off to the races. But if we break below it, typically we do that with momentum. So there's lots to account for. Something like Cardano is really just following the herd, although they have their own sort of fundamental reasons to be very bullish, along with a number of other coins. We see that XRP did very well, jumped up 2 positions in terms of market cap. I think this has a lot to do with their sort of lawsuit and people saying that they're going to win it. Nothing official on that yet, so we're not really going to speculate. But this news is absolutely huge, ladies and gentlemen, and I think people are overlooking it. And it's another one bites the dust here, another country moving towards Bitcoin. not adopting it as a currency as such, but certainly allowing it. And could Russia be doing this as a big middle finger to the US? Potentially. You know, there's a lot you've got to account here. And certainly as the tensions between the two nations, certainly from a mainstream media point of view, seem to be very high, almost conveniently place this. So is the US going to look negatively on Bitcoin now as a result of this, as one of their main competitors essentially is moving to embrace it? You know, we just don't know. So the US officially seizes $3.6 billion in Bitcoin from the 2016 Bitfinex hack. I don't think they're going to dump this on the market. You never know with the US government, to be honest. I mean, they just do things at this point that are just completely illogical and irrational. But I'd hope they didn't. That sort of volume hitting the open market would destroy order books, and you would see an absolute spiller. I mean, it would be insane. Usually these are cascades of liquidations that, you know, they tend to bottom. So, for example, down here, they run into buy pressure and the order books kind of sort themselves out. But I think you would probably, not only if this hit the market, would you see, and I'm not saying it's going to, you know, there's talks of them returning it to the stolen wallets and so on and so forth, but it could ultimately lead to a sell. It's like, you know, you guys remember when the whole Mt. Gox thing happened, or when there was talk about them taking the coins back that were hacked and giving it to the people, and how they were saying, oh, this is going to cause the price to sell off. It did the opposite. So this is really nothing until something actually takes place. But it's good that they're getting on top of this. I think it was from Liechtenstein is where the wallet was kept with all the Bitcoin. But we'll see what trend rests. So we'll keep an eye on all this. CPI tomorrow, big day. Huge news about Russia. That is really all I have for you in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I've waffled on for long enough. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. If you've enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated. So as a comment, remember, we do have a link to our Discord in the description. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter @RealAllInCrypto. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents.